One, more sheriffs in Ohio need to hop on board and get in line. Welcome to Facts Over Feelings, brought to you by SupportOurShields. And these segments are dedicated to people who bring hard truth to a world that's full of lies, gaslighting, and propaganda. Today, we are featuring Sheriff Bruce Zuchowski, the sheriff of Portage County, Ohio, and my brother from another mother. I affectionately refer to him as Big Zoo. He recently appeared on Fox News to break down why the Portage County Sheriff's Office is helping ICE agents deal with the illegal immigration crisis that we're facing today in our country. Check it out.
And unfortunately, pre-Trump getting back in there, ICE had their hands tied to the point where, our officers couldn't do their job. My deputies couldn't perform their duties. And for an example, we'd come back from Cochise County literally about a year and a half ago now, and I was down there with Sheriff Daniels, and I had my chief with me and my major, and we went down, and literally we weren't back here 48 hours. And here in Portage County on the Ohio Turnpike, some of my deputies and our specialized PACE unit, our drug enforcement unit, had stopped a car with 11 illegal migrants. And the car was rented from Cochise County, Arizona. I called the ICE agent over in Northeast Ohio and literally talked to one of their directors. And at that time, his exact quote was, "Sheriff, how many severed heads do they have in bags in the back of the vehicle?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Unless it's a heinous felony, we can't even send agents over there." I'm a little surprised some of my fellow sheriffs haven't jumped on board yet with this. It's just the right thing to do. It's something that's been in place for quite a while, and literally we're not doing anything different than what the contract says. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have some of my deputies be sworn in as a dual commission with federal ICE, and they will be able to, as far as dealing with illegal criminal migrants, they'll be able to have the arrest authority in order to do their job. Because there's nobody, and I don't care what party you are, that wants anybody criminal, whether they're here legally or not, roaming around in their county and their communities. So all I'm doing is giving the ability, the power to my deputies in order to better do their job. And then obviously we're not just going to randomly pull people out because of their color of their skin or the language that they speak. Solely on that, I mean, it's going to be obviously they're committing some sort of a criminal act, something that would out of my deputy's normal duty. So it's not we're going to encampments, we're not kicking in doors, we're not having people, hey, I think my neighbor's an illegal. That's not the purpose for this. We're just basically it's something that President Trump has enacted, and it's been there before. And all we're doing is participating in something and helping do our part as law enforcement officers and a law enforcement agency to help make things safer. We're just following the laws. I mean, basically, it's like President Trump walked into a large conference of law enforcement officials and said, "Hey, who wants to be a part of this 287G Act and help help ICE to be able to get criminal illegal migrants out of America," and I simply raised my hand.
And that's my brother. I don't care what the haters think. I'm so glad that Sheriff Zuchowski had the chance to speak on this issue on a national platform, because the racebaiters and the woke activists are working overtime in order to promote and disseminate false narratives and scare tactics, because that's basically all that they have left. And the sheriff had to address these topics because you literally have these poverty pimps and pulpit prostitutes trying to scare American citizens who are black that after the illegal immigrants, we're next. You can't make this up. But if you've worked behind the scenes with these clowns, like I have for over 20 years, then you'll understand that they get their marching orders directly from the DNC. And they do as they're told. So there are a couple of things that I think are going to come out of this situation. One, more sheriffs in Ohio need to hop on board and get in line. And if they don't, then it's up for the citizens of Ohio to put their feet to the fire. Two, the lefticals are going to start another attack on sheriffs like Sheriff Bruce Zuchowski. And they're going to use their favorite weapon of choice, racism, white supremacy. Get ready. I bet the NAACP is already coming up with headlines. It's going to happen. Just think about what you've seen in the news cycle lately. Democrats will literally go over to another country and demand that that country turn over their legal citizen for their virtue signaling campaign, but they won't even mention the name of families who've had their lives destroyed by illegal immigrants who have murdered American citizens. Not to mention, you couldn't pay them to go to Palestine, Ohio when that town was devastated. But they can spend our tax money and fly their sorry asses to El Salvador. I wish they would detain them for a year and keep them there since they want to be there so bad. I actually think the sheriff was too generous when he talked about no one wanting illegal immigrants running around in their community. Democrats do. Well, with this caveat, they don't mind them running around in the communities they claim to care for and represent, but they won't be running around in the gated communities they actually reside in. You saw that up close and personal when Ron DeSantis did a boss move a couple of years ago and sent those illegal immigrants up to Martha's Vineyard. Boy, all that virtue signaling was over in less than 24 hours. They got them people out of there. I'm like, Obama, you ain't have no room in that coastal mansion of yours? Not gonna happen. Not that. Yeah, they'll use them for political gains. And this is one of the reasons why I was so vocal in supporting his reelection and defending him against the haters that came after him last year, because he was not afraid to call out what the Democratic Party was doing on purpose by allowing, by some estimates, 10 to even possibly 20 million illegal aliens to flood our country. And I'm glad that the people of Portage County said no more, and we don't want our county to look like Chicago. Poor leadership has life-devastating consequences.
You all stood up there and said you will not allow Trump to come in here and get these illegals. Yeah, you can smile. We're in $1 billion deficit. And you spent half of our money, half of that, on illegals. Since you want to crash out, some of y'all say y'all willing to go to jail for it. Trump, Tom Homan, make an example out this Negro right here first.
And you know, I find it the height of hypocrisy that the side that's always whining about slavery and trauma from slavery is very silent on the current day slavery, which is done in the form of human trafficking. Speaking of which, we have tens of thousands of children that ICE cannot locate. Tens of thousands. What do you think has happened to those children? They ain't at Disney World.
It's a pretty alarming report that found that at least 32,000 unaccompanied children never showed up for their court dates between 2019 and 2023. And nearly 300,000 of these kids that came across the southern border alone never even got a court date whatsoever.
So Sheriff Bruce Zuchowski, this mic drop is for you. Thank you for taking your calling with the utmost seriousness. Thank you for not backing down to the wokeites and the leftoids. And thank you for serving and protecting the people of Portage County. Love you, man. So that's a wrap for this edition of Facts Over Feelings, brought to you by SupportOurShields. If you've been redeemed by the King of Kings, then I'm your brother, no matter your color. Remember this, life isn't fair, but God is just. Be blessed. Sheriff, get him out of here.